The War Games. It's time for war. Huh. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Can't wait. War Games is fantastic and it's coming to Survivor Series. Okay, let's face it, it's not the same, is it? It's not the same. Spoiler alert, this is a top five War Games, and to be honest with you, in my opinion so far, NWA and WCW did it better than NXT. I mean, I've watched all of them over again, and the ones from NXT, no doubt, are good, entertaining, but it's far too much furniture. The women's ones are just plain awful. I had to switch off a couple of them. I couldn't sit through all of them. Yeah, there was some in WCW and the NW. Well, not the NWA. All of theirs were just straight fire. Let's say WCW that were not very good, like Hogan against um, it was an earthquake, was it? Well, it is earthquake and his merry man band of men. That was terrible. When they tried to revamp it in 2000, that was entertaining, but still not great. It was just one ring, and it was Vince Russo's idea of War Games, and it wasn't very good. It completely changed the whole rules and everything around it. It was just silly. So there were some bad ones in WCW, very bad, that would never make this list, and none of the NXT ones will, because, like I said, too much furniture, no lid on it, no roof. It wasn't a War Games. It was like a double steel cage with two rings. It's just because people wanted to jump off the top so everyone could chant "Holy shit" and "Oh my god" and things along those sort of lines, just to get a pop. It wasn't about like what it should have been. What War Games should be about: blood, violence, not a load of tables and chairs and kendo sticks and bins and all that crap. Just too much. Hats on hats, man. We don't need that. You don't need it. And that's why none of the NXT ones make it in there. But one thing we do learn, the one unwritten rule from War Games, if you've watched them all, that you do know, is that the Hills always win the coin toss. Always. Always win it. Always fucking win it. Every single time. Without a doubt. They get the man advantage every single time. And it wouldn't work, would it, the other way, really? It wouldn't. The Hills have to win the coin toss. They have to have that man advantage. Otherwise, yeah, the story of War Games really wouldn't work, would it? Um, anyway, we move on and we talk about my top 5 War Games of all time. Like I said, spoiler alert already, so you know you don't want to watch on if you think I'm wrong. But none of the NXT ones are making it in this top 5. None of them. Because, like I said, NWA, their ones were just straight brilliance, and some of the WCW ones as well were very, very good. And for number 5, we are starting with one from WCW, and it's War Games. Took place at Wrestle War 1991. It was the Horseman, but it kind of wasn't at the same time. Arn Anderson wasn't in the match. I think he was injured. He had Ric Flair, Barry Windham, Sid Vicious, and Larry Zbyszko. We're going to hear a lot about the Four Horsemen in this. They're in the majority of my favourite ones because the Four Horsemen are the War Games. And this is one they actually won as well. They didn't win many. They didn't win many War Games matches. But they won this one. For me, the star of this was Brian Pillman. I thought he was great. So was Barry Windham. Bled like claret just pissing all over the place. That guy bled. But yeah, this was Brian Pillman, man. This was his match. He was fantastic. He was in the team with Sting and the Steiner brothers. Rick and Scott, of course, very young in this, and they were just fantastic. Back in '91, they were just beasts, absolute beasts. One of the best tag teams in the '90s, if not the best. Man, let's have it right, the best tag team of the '90s. The Steiner brothers. They were brilliant. This was a very good match. Like I said, Brian Pillman was the star of this, and this was only 1991, so he was quite young. Shame they never really did much more with him, really. He just got lost in the shuffle in WCW, really. Got pushed up a few times, then held back, and no wonder he did what he did. Went a bit crazy, changed his character, and went off and did better things in WWF. Same, he just didn't have enough time, really. It's just a shame because he was very talented, a very talented person, and proved it here because this was him at his best, in my opinion. He was great in this match. Very, very good match. Yeah, the power bomb was a moment we won't forget where Sid power bombs Pillman on his head, pretty much, just wrecking him. But yeah, this was really good. I really enjoyed it. Larry Zbyszko was a strange one in the match, but I always thought Larry Zbyszko could have been a horseman. So I think he did quite well here. I think he fit in nicely, and I'm surprised he was never a part of the Horsemen. But yeah, for me, this was in my top 5. Very good match. Very enjoyable. Number 5 is War Games 91. Ooh, hello. So we move on to the next one. Number 4, sorry, of War Games. This was a very good one. Again, I mean, there were lots of other War Games matches, but the only ones I can watch, but don't have them all. All right, but this one, another very good one that I watched. One of my favorites of all time, one of my favorite factions of all time, the Dangerous Alliance. Arn Anderson, Bobby Eaton, Steve Austin, Larry Zbyszko, Rick Rude, led by Paul E. Dangerous Lee. What a faction. Bunch of legends. They were great. Again, heels don't usually win the War Games, and they didn't. Sting squadron of Sting, Nikita Koloff, Dustin Rhodes, who was fantastic in this. Absolutely fantastic. Every time he's in War Games, he's brilliant. He was one of the top performers of War Games, arguably. If it weren't for his dad, who probably is Mr. War Games, you'd say Dustin was in with a shout. Or Arn Anderson, for me, it's Mr. War Games, because he's in a lot of them. A lot of my favourite ones. All my favourite ones, I think. Nearly all of them feature Arn Anderson. And he was in this one, in the Dangerous Alliance. But yeah, Sting, Nikita Koloff, Dustin Rhodes, Ricky Steamboat, and Barry Windham. Again, Barry Windham in a lot of War Games matches as well. A lot of my favourite ones. Another person who's in a shout for being Mr. War Games, because this was very good. Start to finish, absolutely brilliant. Steve Austin kicking it off against Barry Windham. They beat the shit out of each other, pissing blood towards the end as well. Most people were in this match anyway. It was just fucking brilliant. And Larry Zbyszko at the end, costing his team the match. In beautiful Bobby Eaton, the best tag team wrestler of all time. No doubt. Up there as one of the best wrestlers of all time, but the best tag team wrestler of all time, in my opinion, is Bobby Eaton. He was fantastic in this match. and Rick Rude as well. This was hard to choose, like the top 3 or 4 or 5. And yeah, this is one of my all-time favorites. Really enjoyed it, but there's so many better. That's the only problem. This was really good. A really good match. And no doubt, I can see why people would put it as their best one, because it is very, very good. But for me, 1992 War Games was fantastic. Anyway, we move on to the next one, because that War Games was good. But the next one, for me, just pips it. Just pips it. And I just thought it was really entertaining, this one. 1989 was the year. And we saw some very young Bloodline members. Daddy Oos was in the match. Fatu, Samu. There they are, the Bloodline members, the Samoan SWAT team. They were teaming up with the Fabulous Freebirds. We're going to see some of the youngsters in a couple of days' time or weeks' time step into the War Games. And we've seen them before. The Bloodline is strong. Unfortunately, they didn't win, because the Road Warriors teaming with the Midnight Express, 2 of the all-time best tag teams there, in my top 5 anyway. The Midnight Express, well, I won't spoil it, actually. I will be doing a top 5 tag team thing, so I won't spoil it. You already know there's a spoiler there. Midnight Express are in my top 5, but we will get back to that anyway. They were teaming with the Road Warriors, and say no more, because they are just fantastic. And Dr. Death Steve Williams, fantastic. Michael P.S. Hayes in this match was brilliant. Terry Bam Bam Gordy, the Freebirds are brilliant. Jimmy Garvin, okay, not an original Freebird. Buddy Roberts was probably better, but Jimmy Garvin was good, entertaining. Just brought something different to the Freebirds, I felt. And the Samoan SWAT team along with them, a good team. This was a good team. Paul Heyman there as well. I enjoyed this. We had Jim Cornette on the other side doing his thing. He was a babyface at this time, which was strange for me, but it worked. This was a good match, and of course, again, heels don't usually win the War Games, and they didn't here. But this was a very, very good, very violent War Games match. When you got people like Terry Gordy, the Road Warriors, Steve Williams, the Samoan SWAT team, all beating the shit out of each other. It was violent. Bloody violent. Claret everywhere. It was brilliant. Just brilliant. And like I said, Michael Hayes, he was brilliant in this. Very, very good. I really, really enjoyed this. The Freebirds, man. I can watch them all day long. All day long. Like I said, the 80s tag teams were so much better. All those tag teams in that thing there, they were all tag teams. All great tag teams as well. That's why I loved it, I think. The Road Warriors, the Midnight Express, the Fabulous Freebirds, the Samoan SWAT team. Just brilliant. And Dr. Death Steve Williams was very, very good as well. Someone who never really got like what he deserved, in my opinion. He was very talented. They could have done a lot more with him. They should have done a lot more with him. In all the company he was in. But anyway, like I said, it's getting harder and harder to choose the top 3. And this, unfortunately, because 1 and 2 are just so legendary, so great, has to come in 3rd place. Has to. Because in 2nd place, in my opinion, is War Games 1987. The first War Games of all time. this was brilliant. Violence galore. Like, they'd never done it before. Something very new. You had Dusty Rhodes, you had the Road Warriors, you had Nikita Koloff. Just legends against the Four Horsemen. At that time, that was Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Lex Luger, Tully Blanchard, JJ Dillon, of course, and Paul Ellering were also in the match. The managers were in this match, and they were brilliant as well. JJ was brilliant. Paul Ellering was very good. This was the Great American Bash, 1987. If you haven't seen it, you've got to check it out. Very, very violent, bloody match. This was what War Games should be. This is what it was meant to be. Not what they're doing now. It's not the same. It's not the same. This is War Games. And the only reason, and it's very hard to pick really between this and what came first. And I'm pretty sure you figured it out already. Because for me, this one I think personally, it's just a personal thing. I just honestly preferred this one a little bit more. It was very similar. Not much difference, really. I mean, between this one and the second one, I think the second one was slightly better. But I did enjoy this one. I thought, yeah, it was just very violent match. Very violent indeed. But yeah, this was just a little bit better. Just a little bit better. NWA, Great American Bash, 1988. Was just that little bit better. It had Dusty Rhodes, the Road Warriors, Lex Luger, Nikita Koloff versus the Four Horsemen, Flair, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and Barry Windham, and JJ Dillon. This was brilliant. Very, very good. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. JJ Dillon, man, he always gets in there, doesn't he? Always in that match. Always in the match. And for me, it was very entertaining. Very, very good. All right. There's nothing you can complain about, really. Every War Games from NWA is hard to pick. Like between 87 and 88, they were very similar, very, very violent, very, very good. Flair was brilliant in it. Arn Anderson was fantastic. Tully Blanchard was brilliant. Barry Windham was very good. Even Lex Luger, Nikita Koloff, Dusty Rhodes. They were the ones, man. They did so many War Games matches. Like, I've only seen a handful, a smidgen of the ones they've done. Just a small taste. They were probably better ones. But these are the ones I've seen. So this is all I have to give you. The only ones I can find on like the network or YouTube or Dailymotion or any other site that's got them up there. And for me, these are my five favorites. And 88 and 87, neck and neck, man. It was so close. I think I just preferred Lex Luger being on the other team. The story of that, really, him joining like breaking away from the Horsemen and being on the other side. I thought that told a good story, and it was very well done. I don't even know if this pictures. This is an NWA one, and it is the Great American Bash Tour of '88. So they did so many of them though, over '88, '87. Even on from there, there's so many War Games matches, at house shows. Just crazy the amount of War Games matches there were, and we can only see a handful of them really. And for me, like I said, I am looking forward, don't get me wrong, to Survivor Series War Games, but I can't see it being as good as these ones. These are legendary. If you haven't seen them, go watch them. You will enjoy them. You will enjoy yourself. And you'll realise why NWA and WCW did it far better. And unless they're going to let them bleed and put a roof on it, there's no way WWE are going to get anywhere near as good as these ones. I'm sorry. There's no way. And the women ain't even. It's just embarrassing watching the women do it. I'm sorry it is. Just ruining War Games. But yeah, if you want to enjoy good War Games matches, go watch 87, 88, 89, 91, 92. And there are other good ones as well. Don't get me wrong. I know other people will think like there are some other good ones as well. But for me, this was my top 5. But yeah, NWA and WCW did it far better. Thank you very much for watching. If you got this far, let me know what you think and tell me your top 5 War Games of all time. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time for another top 5.